Well, we went overseas finally, and we landed in Italy. And that's where we did our bombing missions in Italy. We was over there near Foggia, Italy, and I thought, well, this won't be too bad. We'll train over here for about 6 months. By that time, the war will be over. But the second day we were over there, we made our first bombing run, and it was well to do that way, because we could be just sitting there and not thinking of just thinking of that bombing mission all the time. Maybe, feel like we were going to we didn't know what it was going to be, and our nerves would be worked up. But we went over, and like I say, the second day we did our first bombing mission. But
bombing Italy, huh?
No, Germany.
Germany.
Yeah. We didn't have too much trouble with our bombing missions. We usually had a good bunch of fighters by us, and so we didn't have to worry about the enemy fighters. But we did have to go through the flak every mission, though. Remember, we'd go out to a certain point we call our turning point. We wouldn't go directly to the target we were going to hit for the day, but we'd go out to one side of it, and then we'd turn and go over from that way. And while I was going out to the point of turning, I remember how I'd see a whole lot of stuff in the sky look like flies to me. And the first time my first mission, I asked a fellow with me, I said, "What is that stuff?" And he said, "That's flak." Well, that was anti-aircraft fire that we had to fly through every time we bombed a target, because they knew we were coming, and other bombers had come ahead of us to bomb, and so they had their anti-aircraft fire going up there, and we had to go right through that stuff all the time. It's like somebody said what you see won't hurt you any, but it's what you don't see. But we got through that all right. But one day, I recall, we were bombing Munich, and it was quite a long trip. We went out there, started out, we had the P-51, no, wait a minute, P-38 fighters with us, I believe it was. Yeah, the P-38 fighters, but they couldn't go the entire trip. So the P-51s with the wing tanks were supposed to come along and pick us up, take us over the target, and bring us home. But the 38s had gone out as far as they could go. They had to turn around and go back, and we didn't see our escort of 51s yet. And the Jerry saw that too, so here they come in. And I remember we were firing away like everything, and we were third men from tail end Charlie at the time. And I remember what I saw from the left waist of the ship where I was shooting from. The enemy fighters would come, and they'd work on that outside bomber back there on the very tail end until they got him down. Then they'd swing around and come in and work on the next bomber until they got him down. And all this time we were all firing at the fighter, trying to shoot him down, but it didn't seem like we did any good. And anyhow, they got the two bombers down to our left, and that left us on the tail end. And so just about that time, our escort of P-51s came and picked us up. So we didn't have any more trouble there, but we sure was in hot soup for a while. And but we made it all right. But one day we were coming home, and we was crossing the Adriatic Sea, coming home, and I was laying back there and dreaming of the coffee and donuts that they'd have for us at the runway when we come home. Usually the commanding officer and a Red Cross gal would meet us there as we got out of our planes, and with coffee and donuts. So I was thinking about that. We were just about home. And all at once, the crew chief came running through the plane and said, "Hey, you fellas better get to your stations for crash landing." Said, "There's something wrong up here." So I ran back up to the radio, my own radio there, where it was just in the cockpit right behind the pilot and the co-pilot. And so I was looking around, and I looked at the gas gauge. I remember seeing 500 to 600 gallon of gas registered there, and they thought we was running out of gas. But I remember that register there showed 500 or 600 gallons. Anyhow, we knew it was coming down. Our base was just about 10 minutes out in front of us. We could see it really, but we had to come down and lost our airspeed, and was only about 500 feet off the ground. And finally, by two engines cut out on the plane right quick. And the old co-pilot, I saw him shove the old throttles fully forward, but we just kept settling down. So we all knew what we had to do. We had to get out of get to our stations for crash landing, which we did, and we crashed in a patch of plowed ground with the wheels up, called it a belly landing. We all got out of there but one man, Charlie Brown. So we all ran away from the ship because we were afraid it was going to blow up. But then when we saw Charlie wasn't there, we ran back to get him, and just we got there, why, here he come limping to the window. He got banged up a little bit, not too bad, but he was, you know, his back was kind of cracked up a little bit. But we all got out of there, and that was quite an experience for that crash landing. But then finally, as time went on, we did our missions, and finally, we figured the crew needed a rest of some kind. Anyhow, our pilot put us in for a week's vacation at the Isle of Capri. So they granted it to us, and we went down to the Isle of Capri for a week. But we'd been better off if we'd been doing our bombing missions, because the guys got all the guys got drunk, or most of them did, wanted to fight and everything, and it wasn't a very good situation. But anyway, we got out of that, and then flying along, we thought, I don't know how many missions we had in, most of them anyway, but I think it's 26. And we were flying was going to bomb Frederickshafen. I believe that's where they were making the V-2 rockets that were shooting over London all the time, and we was going to bomb Frederickshafen. And our plane was going along, and we usually flew at 22 to 24,000 feet to get over the Alps, and our plane was going along, and all at once we was out of oxygen, couldn't breathe. The oxygen was getting low, and we had to come down from altitude in order to breathe. And they had told us back at the base, said, if any of you get in trouble, if you're close to Switzerland, it's a neutral country, if you put your plane in there, why, it'll be all right. So the pilot and co-pilot and all of us talked it over, and I guess they decided that was the best thing to do. So we pulled over into Switzerland, and here come a couple of fighters up to meet us, and we didn't know they looked like German fighters, and they come right, pointing their nose right at us. You know, I was ready to shoot. Some of the guys said, "Don't, those are Swiss fighters." So finally, they tipped their wings, and in other words, they said, "Follow us." So that we followed them down to a landing there, a pasture, what it was, but we went bumping along there and finally got landed and stopped. But so we was in Switzerland then for a little while.